Lori, thank you so much for your presence and for being able and available to share your wisdom with us. Today, we
Yeah.
are going to chat about mindset, business mindset. But first, I want you to present yourself, please, so we can know more about you, who you do, who you help, and what took you to this season of your business and your life. And then we start talking about
Okay.
business mindset.
Okay. Well, I will try to be concise with this. But so my name is Lori Konkler. I am a success and embodiment coach and mentor. I am also a retreat leader, and I host retreats for women primarily. In terms of who I support, I work with mostly entrepreneurial women, but I'm going to just kind of grow that out a little bit. I actually say I work with high achieving women, which I know many of us do, because I don't think the things that I deal with are really only relevant for entrepreneurs. So I've started to work with women outside the entrepreneurial space as well. And a lot of the women that I tend to work with and help are the women who want to have it all, right? You want the money, you want the life, you want amazing relationships, but what I find is that, and this was for myself in my own journey too, that sometimes it's hard to find that balance, right? Where you can be really successful in your business, but then you're just like in the hustle all the time. But then you can also be in this space of like hustling but not getting the money. So I bridge the two, and I do that through authentic expression, which I'm sure that we'll talk about throughout here. And I really help women step into their full leadership and their power, because that in itself is what makes people magnetic, what brings the balance. So for me, what got me into this space is what year is it? 2025. Back in 2016, my husband and I actually, we decided to pack things up. We left the US and we moved to the Caribbean and kind of left our life behind. We sold a bunch of stuff. I wanted to start a life where I could actually enjoy my life. I was in a career where I was working 50, 55 plus hours per week, doing work that I was good at, that I liked, but I had 3 weeks of paid time off per year, and once that was gone, I couldn't do anything. And this all came on the tail end of a 1-month trip that we took to Bali, or not Bali, sorry, Fiji and New Zealand. And I just came back and knew I needed something different. And I didn't know yet at that point I was going to be a mentor for other women. But after I did that, so many people were asking me how I did that. I'm so jealous, and I realized I was helping people for free to kind of create businesses, to create lives similar to what I had. So in 2019, I jumped all in. So yeah, that was my story, kind of condensed.
And it is such an amazing story, mostly because you were trying to have a balance and align your life and your lifestyle with your values, right? Because it's
Yeah, well, because the thing is most of us, when we start our businesses, we start for the purpose of, and I won't say most, but most of the people in my world at least are starting their business in some respect because they want more freedom, they want more flexibility, they feel caged in and trapped by their jobs, their careers. Whether I don't have children, but some people, if they want to stay home with their kids, some people, if they want to travel more, they want to do more things that they're just not able to do. And yeah, I mean, that freedom really is the driver, I think, for so many people. But then they get into business and they just end up recreating this paradigm where they are just as busy.
Mm-hmm.
So they built a business for freedom and then they don't have it. So it really is about bringing in the balance between the business, the business, the life, all of it, without sacrificing one aspect of your business or life in order to find that joy and balance that you want in other places.
Yes, for sure. And so some while ago, I heard someone telling that, oh my gosh, freedom became such a cliche. But it's true. We are looking for, because there are so many versions of freedom and so many levels of freedom. And yes, we want more, and each step, or we each walk, we overcome and get more freedom. We understand that there are more that we can reach, and there are layers that can be polished, and all of that. I don't think it became a cliche, because it is what we look for.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I could talk about that all day.
that's right. So one question I wanted to ask is, introverts, mostly the ones that are not action driven, but are more impact driven. Um, Many times they don't see themselves as leaders.
Mhm.
There are also, like freedom, there are several types of leadership, right?
Mhm.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, what I will say is that, yeah, I think a lot of introverts and think that I'm not a leader, right? Because I don't want to be around people. But let me tell you, like, I know a lot of people that have had a lot of success in business, that are making multiple 6, 7 figures and even some beyond. Um, and sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. Leadership, oftentimes, like many of those women that I know, and some men too, they are like the most successful people I know, like they would identify themselves as an introvert. But from the outside looking in, oftentimes their clients, their followers, they don't see them as an introvert. They see them as a leader. So it's bridging that gap between what other people see you as and what you see yourself as. But I think the reason that a lot of people don't necessarily see themselves in that light is because they've been led to believe that perhaps there's certain things that you have to do in order to be a leader, to be successful in your business, and that's not true. Like going live like this obviously like is a big thing, and I will say for myself, when I first started out in my business, um, I did not like going live. I did not like being on camera. I wouldn't even like watch my own videos back. It was painful for me to watch those things. And I would judge myself so harshly, and like I wouldn't show up that way. And I remember one of my team members slash clients at the time, like encouraging me to go live, and I'm just like, no, I'm not going to do that. But now it's something that I actually love to do, and I think that leadership is more about our self-leadership, because if you aren't leading yourself, you're not going to be able to be a leader. And anybody is capable of self-leadership. It's a choice. It's making the decision. If it's an introvert, but I really want to support people. I want to, I'm just talking about like coaching and whatever, but however you want to help people in this world, whatever business that you want, you're like, I really want to do this. The only person that tells us that we can't do the things that we want is us, is ourselves. And I think it's the self-leadership piece comes in of how much you want the desire, like what you're willing to face to come through it. And like I said, many of my clients, my peers, and people that I've been in rooms with, they themselves would say that we all look at them as leaders. They would say they're an introvert. So I don't know if that answers your question, but said from a leadership perspective, I think it's more about how you see yourself, because you're capable of showing up. And really, right now, I don't even see, Andrea, I don't even see your picture on here, right? Because Facebook is messed up. So I'm just talking to myself. So even, like as an introvert, it's about making that choice. Can I just sit here and talk to myself? Yes, and I will say there's a lot more that goes into it, which I'm sure we'll get into in terms of getting yourself to that place of confidence. But leadership begins with choosing to lead yourself first.
Yes, it is so true, and yet we are leading each other because we don't see ourselves. Yes, it is so true. What I see most of the times is that they don't feel they are leaders because they feel that a leader needs to rule, and a leader normally leads by example, right? And many times the example they give if is by leading themselves and giving the permission to others also lead themselves. I love it what you brought here. What do you think is the mindset that normally lacks on people, most times women? I believe for women it's more difficult to see themselves on that leadership role. Although mostly the mothers, right? They are leaders already, and many times
Yeah.
they lead also the relationship, and they can bring that to business and to their journey of entrepreneurship. What do you think is the mindset shift that normally takes more time to switch the key, the turn the key?
Yeah, I mean, I'm an embodiment coach, as you know. So I'm going to say I think it's more than just the mindset, because it is what's happening in our bodies, but because our bodies are reacting to our minds are happening to the triggers in our body, like what's happening in our body first and foremost, like that's what sets off in our mind. So, you think back to like caveman days, right? And like the fight or flight response and like the anxiety and all of those feelings that come up, when you think about being seen this way, that happens in your body first, and it goes to your mind and it triggers your mind. And in the olden days, it was that trigger was there to be like, oh my God, I just saw a bear. Bear is going to chase me. I need to run, so it's like it was a protection mode. So it's our body protecting us. And it sends that signal to our minds that things are not okay. You're being chased by a bear. You're being attacked. Hunker down, be safe, and it's trying to keep us safe. So I think the biggest shift, honestly, it starts before just the mindset. And I think that's, if I'm being, honest, I think that's a big issue with like the whole mindset thing. I actually started out in mindset work, and that brought me deeper into embodiment, and I just had wanted to be a mindset coach and mentor. But then I realized that the connection is actually so much deeper. So the first shift, the most important shift that I think that you make is actually getting in tune with your body. Because for some people, they are able to, just go right into the mindset work, the beliefs, the affirmations. And I think, depending too on where you're at in your journey, it is easier to just act from the mind. But as you grow in your businesses, as you become more and more successful at every level, you're faced with more things, and you have to overcome fears at every single level. And when you learn to understand what's happening in your body and the triggers that are being sent to your mind, you can control it at any point. I think, mindset, we're taught like just repeat these affirmations over and over, and that's enough. But if you don't know what's happening in your body and what's triggering those things, some people then struggle to actually make the mindset shifts necessary to actually make long-term sustainable moves. So to go back to your question, I believe that most important shift is deciding that that you're the person that gets what you want, and then going into your body and understanding the signals that are stopping you in your mind from having it. It's really understanding the mind-body connection. That's the first shift, and deciding that's where you start. So I don't know if that answers your question, but hopefully.
Answered, but I got curious because I think I already heard the term embodiment, but now with the explanation you already gave, it got me more curious. Can you speak more about that and how it relates with the, the mindset and the business mindset?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm going to probably use some personal examples and or client
Yeah.
examples if that's okay too, because I think that helps to exhibit it. But
Mm-hmm.
so for myself, like I said, when I started out in business, I had had a very successful career. You know, I left, well, the first time and the second time, you know, like director level positions, and I am coming into my business and I was like, okay, it's just a mindset thing, right? It's all about your mind. And at first it worked. I was doing affirmations, repeating those, and just, you know, doing the things that we all know as like very like base level mindset work. But embodiment is taking that to another level. And for me, that was the thing that really was most important, because embodiment, it isn't just what's happening in our head. It's actually, again, as I was saying, you know, it's about connecting to what's happening in your body, because your body always knows, but our brains, like, we are controlled by our brains. Our brains are on repeat. And, you know, so let's say you make a mistake in something that you do, or let's just say as an introvert, right? You go live and then you mess something up and you were just like embarrassed, and then you tell you're just like, oh God, I can't believe I did that. That was so stupid, whatever. That right there, those words that you told yourself, those actually become subconscious beliefs, right? So that it comes into your mind, but it anchors into your subconscious, into your body, and you're reacting, like, that's the story that's on repeat. So that's the mindset piece of it. But then when that situation comes up again in your body, you felt that when that happened. Like, if you actually pay attention when you're in these different scenarios, whether it's, you know, you're embarrassed, whatever scenario, when you have those subconscious beliefs, it's sending that fear signal right into your body of the next time, or that judgment, that signal into your body, and you're feeling that in your body. But we're not often taught to actually have that connection. So if you just like, well, I could actually ask you, I guess, for an example of something that actually like scares you when it comes to business. Is it, you know, being seen? Is it, you know, having money? You know, whatever it is. But when you feel the actual, like, that fear, feel it in your body first, and then see what happens in your mind, because the signal in your body is going from your mind to control it. So from a business perspective, this is often like, oh, I need to do it this way because my coach told me to do it this way, or embodiment in business. So I got so far with the mindset stuff, and before I ever discovered embodiment. And I will say, even my first 10, like getting to $10,000 months, came in large part from the mindset and having the right actions. But moving beyond that, that was where a lot of the deeper things came in, and actually sustaining it. And that's the biggest problem. A lot of people can hit the milestones, they can hit it, but they can't sustain it. And oftentimes the signals in our bodies that our body is giving us, whether it's a reaction to like something that happens, a situation that happens, or maybe it's like pain in your body that you can't explain, those are messages. They're messages telling you something. And you know, for me, one that still comes up is hip pain, low back pain, and shoulder and neck pain. And when I start to get tense about something, I can actually now connect. Like, there was something yesterday. Yes, I was talking to my husband yesterday, and I was talking just about some changes that I wanted to make in my offers and the programs that I'm offering, because I actually am kind of making a bit of a shift in who I'm wanting to create some programs for right now. And my mind, the immediate thing that happened in my mind was like, but no, you can't do that. And the reason, I'll tell you, like, and this has actually been something that's been on my mind for a while, like, for a long time, my focus has been on women who are already making, you know, over 10,000, most of them over, 15, 20 plus $1,000 cash months. And for who they already had the financial success, and then they were wanting to, just find the balance, which I still work with those women, but I have been feeling this real call to help women because I know so many women over the last several years have really struggled. Like they're like, I'm doing everything right, and it's still not working. And in large part, like I've hired some of the best mentors. I've spent a lot of money on mentorship, and the story that they tell you is, well, if you need high ticket clients, right? And those people, they can't afford high ticket. So you're talking to the wrong people. So for years, it's like I've felt this pull to help certain people, but my mind is saying no. It's listening to all of those things that have been said to me from different mentors over the years, from people write this stuff in their content all the time as well, from content, like watching different things. These are the things that are anchored into your mindset. So I can't help those people because they aren't going to be able to pay me. So every time that I would have conversations in the past with someone who I didn't think could afford something, what was happening, my mind had already told my body that it wouldn't work. And so yesterday I was just having this conversation with my husband, and I said, I'm really I'm actually starting a different program. I'm stopping the thing that I had been promoting, and I'm creating something new for this audience. And when I said that, my immediate go-to thought was, but that's not going to make you money. And that wasn't my thought, but it was anchored into that subconscious. It was a belief that was still there. And I could feel it in my gut, this feeling just right here. I guess this is like your solar plexus area in your body. I could just feel this ache, and everybody feels these things differently in their body. So I just want to say that too. But it's just those subconscious things in business, and this has been a really big issue for many of us, because it's like social media is great, but it's also can be detrimental because it is feeding our mindset. And after years of listening to this, it's become more about the embodiment versus just the mind. So I feel like I talked for a long time there, so I'm going to pause, let you talk, and let me know if that answered you.
Yes, you did. And I like something you brought about thinking about the ideal client, because I don't know if it's just me, but I've been seeing plenty of people also switching the narrative, the message about you need to reach to talk to the high level, to the action takers. And it seems that the industry is flipping everyone to a side and leaving the other ones. Do you feel this will, or it's already impacting the entrepreneurs' mindset about their worthiness, about their business success, thinking that if they are not talking to the high achievers, the high-end clients, the action takers, they will not succeed?
Yeah, I think a lot of people believe that, and I'll say I think you're even saying action takers with that, because that right there I feel like is kind of maybe even like that narrative of what is an action taker, because just because someone's making money doesn't mean that they're not taking action. But to your point, a lot of people have, and I see it in a lot of people's content, and it really pisses me off if I'm being honest, because people connect action with money, and that's not true. And they put, somebody posted something the other day, and it was like, I now only accept pay in full clients. I don't do payment plans anymore, because people who do payment plans, they're the ones that are making you chase the money all the time and blah, blah, blah. I was just like, people see that, and people who aren't at a point where they're have the nervous system capabilities to go sell a $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 package to somebody and say, I only take pay in full. So those people then make themselves wrong because they're not doing that, or they change the way that they're doing things to try to go after that. And the thing is they could have just fine gotten somebody who was willing to pay them $5,000, pay in full or in payment plans, but they've now got it in their mindset that that's not worth, that if they can't get that high ticket client and to get them to pay in full, that they're not worthy, even though that person is actually an action taker. Like they are motivated, and so many people have invested and over invested in things just trying to meet these standards. And I think some people have an easier time, and some people have honestly a lot more emotional and like nervous system work that probably needs to be done beneath the surface. And those people are then comparing themselves to those that are, you know, making $1 million a year, saying only do high ticket, and that's not fair. It's the feeling that I've been getting lately is like, okay, but then who helps the rest of the people who actually need help, right? Like, because if everybody's moving to high ticket, I actually think the opportunity is going to be in some of your lower ticket stuff. And lower ticket, not when I'm saying high ticket, I'm saying like 5 figures and beyond for you know, a package. So I guess that's my belief is, you know, it's definitely going the wrong direction with that. And I have a whole slew of opinions on why I think people go into the high ticket thing. But yeah.
I like that. And I believe the same. I believe the industry is some things that were more high, not high end, more trendy some years ago. Now they are switching, but now I see very much this narrative also. One thing that with the conversation I wanted to ask is, how much do you believe the importance of having a vision of success, defining their vision of success before they start making their offers, promoting their offers, trying to get clients?
I think it's extremely important to have that definition of what that is, but also to have the belief in yourself that you are the person that can actually create the things that you want. If you do that first, if you do the mindset, the embodiment work, the success like work first, that's what gives you the foundation. And that really truly in my mind is one of the biggest difference between someone who's making, you know, 0 or maybe not 0, but like 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 a month versus somebody who's making 50, 100, 100,000 plus, you know, and you don't just make that out of the gate, but the people who are making money faster oftentimes are the people who have that foundational layer of like of confidence and not even confidence, because I think sometimes it's not about confidence, it's about courage. But they have that foundation.
Yes, I love that you just pointed out the difference of starting with courage and not confidence. Because many people wait to have the confidence to take action, to show up, to build their brands, right? And it's very much about the courage to take the step, even if they don't have the full confidence on it. Because let's face it, the more we do things, the more we put ourselves out there. And putting ourselves out there is not just showing the face, but putting ourselves in the market, making us more visible in whatever this can look like. And I now it was me who was the the thought. But yes, people wait to have the confidence, and the confidence will come with the action and the trial and error that we make in our journey, right? One
Yeah.
thing I was remembering here the coffee chat we made some time ago while we were scheduling, booking this live, and I remember something you said back then, that you told that normally people start working with mindset, and this is something I do, but you told you don't start with that. So I got curious and now it came to my mind, and I would like to know why you don't start with the mindset first, and what do you start with?
I don't remember exactly what I said back then to know the context, but was it why you don't start anything specific or just in general?
I think it was working with your clients.
Okay. Well, mindset, as I was just saying, because mind, you can start, I will say, okay, I'll say this. You can start with mindset, but it's paired with the embodiment, because I do mindset work as part of the work that I do. But our brains, our bodies are just big freaking computers. Our brain is a computer. And the narratives that we feed it, and that we've fed it for much of our life, the beliefs that we've taken on, that trauma, those emotions, the feelings, it's stored in our bodies. And mindset alone isn't enough in my mind. And like I said, it will get you so far. And when I started in my own business, I wasn't even like the word embodiment. I didn't even understand what it fully meant at that point. And I was doing some of the work. I was doing yoga and meditation, and I was feeling into things in my body, but I was really focused on the mindset and changing my limiting beliefs. But mindset alone, and that's where I'll say you don't start with mindset alone, because that isn't enough. It's why do I actually have this thought in my mind? What is it relating to in my body? And then what is actually stored? Because energy is constantly like moving through our bodies, and old traumas, emotional stuff, like it gets stuck. If you don't process things, it becomes stuck in your body, which becomes stuck energy, and it's just not moving. And your mindset isn't going to clear that. It's just going to like mask it. But eventually then something else comes up that you can't handle because you didn't do the deeper level work. So that hopefully again answered the question, but I really believe that mindset, it's important, but it's your energetic frequency. It's the embodiment of like, are you actually embodying you want, because otherwise you're going to be so contracted, and you're not going to let yourself expand out. So I'm going to pause there.
Thank you so much. I like that. But is there any kind of patterns you see with the people you work with? What I wanted to ask is if you can see a reaction on the person, and if that reaction is a pattern on that person, how the body reacts to a situation. It's the same when other situation come that triggers the same kind of emotion.
I think so. So let me just see if I understand. So are you saying like if like you had some like trauma or something in the past, like that's stored in your body, then like something that happens in the present kind of like triggers that in
Yes.
your body? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that absolutely can happen. And that's, I don't think that you need to spend years figuring out every trapped emotion that you have in your body. It's about becoming mindfulness and becoming aware of what's happening in the moment. So that can definitely happen. And you know, what I would tell someone in that case is when that happens, that's when you have to do the you know, work of really connecting with your body to understand what that trigger, like what was that about? Why did that happen? You know, and it's just like, you know, I'm getting curious with what that is, so you can connect it, because when you can connect the triggers and the patterns to what's happening in your body and the signal, then you can actually start to clear the stuck emotions, get the energy flowing in your body, which raises your frequency, your vibration, makes you more magnetic. And for introverts, that's the goal, right? We want to be more magnetic and call more people to us. So you have to do less of the things you don't actually enjoy or want to do.
How do you personally navigate the high and lows of entrepreneurship and the mindset shift? Because we all are in the journey, and we all have mindset blocks and shifts to mind, right? How do you handle those? You were just talking about speaking to your husband yesterday. So how nowadays I believe it's easier for you to notice that right away and work on that, right? But before probably it would take more time. But how do you handle that, and what are some suggestions you can have or tips you can have for entrepreneurs?
Yeah, and I want to just first say, like, I'll talk about how I handle things, but a big part of the work that I do is because I believe that everybody is different inherently. So what works for me, even when it comes to mindset, you know, business strategies and mindset and embodiment, it's not the same for everyone, and that's where you have to test out a little bit what really works for you. But for me, you know, so in those moments, like if something really like comes up that's triggering me, or I'm recognizing that I'm actually like in a loopy or like in a pattern, how do I stop that, or how do I recognize that? Well, first of all, I have my like daily like spiritual workout routine, and that's what helps me to be aware of things oftentimes before they become bigger things. So I do meditate daily. You know, for me, I find that sometimes 10-15 minutes is plenty. Sometimes I'll do it for much longer. I do yoga a few times a week. Movement in general, I get out, I exercise and walk daily. But in the moment, like when I'm upset about something, or there's something that needs to move through or be processed, oftentimes my go-to is just literally taking a walk. Like something as simple as walking can really move. And again, I follow human design a lot, gene keys. I use these as resources and tools in my work and with myself, because that's helped me to understand my body and how those triggers actually show up for me as well. So did a little bit of the study on my body first, but in the moment, again, it's taking a walk. If I'm mad about something, I will literally sometimes just scream, because it moves the energy in your body. And if you can't scream out loud, there's something that I do called a silent scream, where you're still taking those same actions in your body and it's moving, you know, that through to kind of just shift the energy and the mindset at the same time in the moment. You know, when something's coming up and I'm really trying to figure out like what is this about? Why is this triggering for me? Another one that I often go into is just a self-hug. And it sounds maybe even a little corny, and I'm gonna just like show you. So it's like full on hug yourself, like you would be hugging somebody else, and you just do that. And you just keep asking yourself, like, what's going on? Like, you're okay. Like, why is this so triggering? And you're just asking yourself question after question until you get to the root of the answer for you. And oftentimes it will just be a couple minutes, and you'll have those realizations, and you'll feel your body, like the tenseness start to dissipate and relax as you're doing those. So that's just some of my go-to. I also do a lot of EFT tapping. That works really well for me too, again, to just kind of move things through the body.
Yes, I love that. You shared so many things I like to do also. I love tapping and the other also. But I love it that the questions you ask yourself. Do you feel that for introvert women, since we are here in an introvert community, do you feel that it's easier for introvert women to stop and make the questions, make the internal work, or still they skip that part and they tend to be very much on the overthinking the problem but not looking for the solution?
Yeah, I think that's not just exclusive to introverts, though. I'll say, the overthinking thing, and they can go into that and not taking action. I would say, in my experience, and I would say I no longer identify myself as introverted. I did identify with that for a long time, and I think that oftentimes it is that a lot of introverted, I'm gonna say women more so because I think that's probably more of who we're talking to, but if the guys are out there listening to you, you can take the advice as well. But I think a lot of introverted women oftentimes feel that the introversion is what's stopping them from things, but I actually don't think it is. I think it is it's trauma, it's the need to process things, it's the need to learn how to regulate your emotions, your nervous system, so that you can actually sustain the things that you want and create more of them. And like I said, as I was saying earlier, I know a lot of introverted people who are highly successful. If you are self-led, it doesn't matter if you're introverted or extroverted, you will reach the goals that you want. It's about what you are choosing. And I think oftentimes that we can use the fact that we're an introvert as a reason to not do something, or, oh, that's not going to work for me because, I'm shy, I'm an introvert. But when and please everybody take this in the kindest way, but when we can throw our own bullshit aside, and hopefully I can swear in here, and get really real, like, am I using this as a reason to not create what I want? That's the difference. Because yes, we all get stuck in our mind. It doesn't matter. Extroverts also get stuck in their own mind. We create reasons, we create stories, we create limitations for ourselves, regardless of who we are, that will stop us. And for some of us, we have more work to do to really get ourselves out there, and that's okay. And I was one of those people too. I did identify as an introvert until I realized that I wasn't actually really truly an introvert at my core, but it was a lot of conditioning that had made me believe that I couldn't do things that I really truly could.
I found it interesting that you talking about you are not identifying as introvert, because introvert is very much about how we manage energy, and we can have a more or people see us as more extroverts, and we still are introverts. I'm a social introvert, so for some people I can look more extrovert because I'm talkative and I show up, but in the energy level I suffer, and I need time to recap and to ground myself. And that's why I found interesting you saying that you were not seeing yourself like that, because probably the blocks you had in the past, like I also did, about showing up. For instance, for me it was a big pain to even be taking picture, not even not talking about the video, but that was related to my shyness and not to my introversion. Other thing I wanted to ask, since you were talking about making the self leadership, what are the the shifts or the things that normally are the permissions women to need to have towards themselves so they can start to self-lead with more confidence towards themselves.
So what are the permissions or what are the conditions?
But tell me about the two. Maybe I'm confusing.
No, I just didn't understand what you said. I was just clarifying, that's all.
It's more about the permissions. According to the women that normally I work with, need to feel or to give permission themselves to feel the confidence and to self-lead themselves, so they can overcome the fear of judgment and all the things that around showing up. So for women to start to be more confident self-leading themselves, what are the shifts you feel that more often show up on your client's journey?
I don't know if I fully understand the question, but I'm going to try to answer the best that I can in terms of like what permissions that they feel they need. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I think it varies again by person very much, what that is. But I think oftentimes, and I'll just say this from my own experience of mentoring lots of women and also being mentored by different women, oftentimes it's like we feel like we need external permission. Like I can't tell you how many times where like I'll just like think something, I'll be like, oh, I can't do that, I shouldn't do that, I shouldn't say that, and then I'll go to my coach and she'll give me permission, and then it's like suddenly I feel like, okay, well I guess that is okay, I guess I can do that. So I think there's, for a lot of women, we feel like we need someone to tell us that it's okay. I don't know in terms of like self-permission what they need to be able to do. The thing that I would tell people is giving them, they need to be able to give themselves permission to not be perfect, because that perfectionism, introvert or not introvert, doesn't matter, but that need to be seen in a certain way, it's exhausting. And the truth is that, I said earlier on in the conversation, a big part of the work that I do is really helping women to be in their authentic expression, and giving them permission to fully express themselves, to be all of them. If that means they show up messy, if that means they make a mistake, if that means that they do a live with their camera off and it's just audio, like, give yourself permission to do whatever the F you want. Like, that's what we all need, is that permission. And it does start with ourselves, but oftentimes I feel like we seek it outside of us before we make it okay. I will just say something to, as partially related to this, partially related to the last thing, in terms of like energy levels and that permission. One I mentioned earlier, human design, which again, some people that I coach, they're not into it, they don't believe in it at all. Other people do, but one thing for me, like those different systems, whether it's human design, the Enneagram, really getting to understand and know yourself can be so powerful. And but for human design in particular, why that one was really helpful for me is it's actually describes like how you're born, how you're designed to be in this world, how you've designed yourself to be in this world. And when you can understand that, like, For instance, if you're a projector versus a generator, you have completely different like ways that your energy works in your body. And I know so many people, especially projectors, who when they have that permission to just be like, actually, I need to rest. Actually, I need these things. And same thing if it's just introverts, and like I need to have that time to like retreat into myself so that I can be better. There's no one right way to do anything in business or in life. So it's giving yourself permission to be fully you, and all of those really just come together as that.
Yes, I love that. I also use personality assessment, and I find that it's very important to have those tools for us to understand ourselves better, because otherwise we will pass our life without fully understand ourselves, and we have so many different layers, and not only from how we were grown or born, but with all the experience we had in life, and even the personality traits we are born with. It's so important to bring light to that so we can understand. It's not to put the label on our tag, but giving a name, many times it helps to understand that we're not alone, and understand better how we actually work, and how we can start working, not to try figure out everything or fix everything, but work with our traits. I love it that you brought that there are so many different tools, and some people prefer ones than others, but
Yeah.
as soon as we are able to use them to understand ourselves better, the best. I believe that. Tell me if there's anything you want to talk about that I may not ask it.
Oh, well, I mean, do you want to talk all day? I'm sure I could think of things. Well, I appreciate that. No, no, I mean, I think we really covered a lot, and really, when it comes down to it, you know, these just the last part of what we said is really what it's all about. It's learning who you are, getting to understand yourself, who you are, what matters to you, both in business and in outside of business, because to be honest, your life outside your business is way more important than your business. Period. Would not have said that 6 years ago, but I'm saying it now, and 6 years ago, me probably needed to hear it. And it's just learning who you are, both inside and outside of your business, inside and outside of whatever roles you play, whether it's mom, whether it's dad, whether it's sister, wife, whatever, you know, knowing who you are at your core, how you respond to things, why you respond that way, and really just getting really in touch with your body and learning how how the things that are, you know, impacting you are impacting your body, and what those reactions are, because once you start to get familiar with that, it does make it so much easier. And you know, find whatever it is for you that helps you to get to know yourself. Like I said, for me, human design, you know, Enneagram I learned first, which was helpful, human design, and then gene keys, and you know, even a little bit of astrology. I do mostly Eastern astrology, but to really understand aspects of yourself, and you know, to contemplate. That's
I love that. Yes. Oh, I love that. So tell us where we can find you. Tell us if you have any offer you want to talk about, free or paid.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me here on Facebook. Well, we're going live right now on Facebook. Just my name. There's one other person with the name Lori Konkler that I found on Facebook, and she's not an entrepreneur, so you're going to find me. And same thing, LinkedIn. My handle is just my name, Lori Konkler, and you'll have that, I imagine, in some comments, description notes somewhere. And then also follow me on YouTube. On YouTube, my channel is the Xennial Traveler, which is Xennial, and then Traveler, spelled the American traveler spelling, and you will find me over there. In terms of any offers, I would love to just invite people to join me in my Unleashed and Authentically Expressed community over on Telegram. I believe, again, that you have all of those links. Yeah, I feel like I gave you one more thing to share a link on, but I don't remember now what it was. I'm because again, being totally authentic. So whatever that is, I think it was like my meditation mindset, money meditation thing. Grab that too.
Okay, I will share all the links, and if I don't have that one of the meditation, I will ask you to also add this on the description of the live, and also on YouTube. If you are watching us on YouTube, you are very welcome to join us on the Show Up community on Facebook, and leave all the comments you want to share about the insights you got from this live with Lori. And if you have any questions, you can leave on the comments, or you can go to the links I will leave in the description and connect with Lori. So
Yeah,
thank you so much, Lori.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, I love this conversation. We surely could be talking here for hours about. So thank you so much. It was such a pleasant time. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.